You can bring my water, baby. Okay, we are live. Just finished eating, so I ain't have time to clean my face. Yo, Erica on here. Frank already on here. Hold on. Let me get situated. I appreciate everyone for being on time because I was almost late. Here we go. Right, my brother Roger on here. Right, if Dad up, let Dad see me because he said he wanted to watch last time. Yo, Frank, what's good, brother?
What's up?
What's good? I love the background. You came prepared.
Yeah, that's my whole, well, not my whole fabric wall, but that's my wall of fabric back there.
Yeah, I'm checking you out. I'm looking at it. You got some stripes, you
Yeah,
got some plaids, you got
yeah,
some, okay. You got some things, man.
yep.
All right, give me just a second to adjust a little bit. I literally just finished eating dinner.
So, so did I.
Wife is on. Mm. Oh, okay. Let's get this started. So I'm gonna give people about another minute to get on. But for those that are on right now, if you're not familiar with Dope Man Soul, it's basically an open conversation with me and another maker to talk menswear, fashion, sewing, and also design because there's not many outlets for us currently as of right now. So when I see talent and I see somebody doing their thing, especially in the menswear DIY department, I try to, what I'm saying, set time aside every week and have an open conversation and just hear their soap story and just know a little bit about them and how they got started. Um, this week we have Frank Mena. He literally just sent me a voice note because I asked him how you pronounce your last name. Is Man or Man? So it's Mena Mena. So
Yeah,
Frank
Mena.
Mena, welcome to the show, and yeah, man, I'm happy to have you.
I'm very excited to be talking to you right now. So I'm an avid fan of the show. I've watched every single episode. Um,
Really?
yeah, from people like Jay Scruggs to Daniel Frank to
Yeah.
everyone that you've had on the show, the range of either experience, the range of what they make, where they
Yeah.
make it. You have this great collection of makers on your show, and I'm very honored to be now a part of this group of people.
Man, that sounds so good, man. So awesome. Today is Thursday. Kind of fits Throwback Thursday with your kind of like throwback era kind of stuff that you have
Yeah.
that you design. Before we get into it, man, how has your week been thus far?
Week's been great. Just finished this shirt today. I started it yesterday. Because
Okay.
I knew I had to get some sort of menswear thing on a mannequin for you. And so I started
Okay.
that. Uh, and so I made the shirt. I made the Henley from your Henley pattern. And then I
Okay.
made this button up to put on the mannequin for you today.
The
So
Henley is that's what you're wearing right now, right?
yeah, the Henley is what I'm wearing. The simplicity
Okay.
pattern for the Henley watched your tutorial on YouTube. So whipped it out and it was really great, a really fast make. And then I figured I would challenge myself. And this is the first ever button up that I've ever made. So
Really?
yeah,
Man, it looks good. It looks
thank
really
you.
good. And your Henley looks good too. That's a nice fit. It looks good.
Thank you. Thank you. The very first time working with any kind of stretch material or a knit of any kind. Normally it's mostly like silks like this is over here or taffeta or
Got you.
anything like that. So working with
Okay.
a knit for the first time was challenging, but I got it. I kind of got it through.
It looks amazing. It looks perfect to me. I thought you had bought it from a store. I was like, man,
Oh,
that's
thank you.
that's
Thank
a
you.
good little situation you got there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it, man. For those that's listening, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself that's not sewing related? Where you from? What you're currently doing, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So for the people that have joined, my name is Frank Mena. I was born in San Antonio, Texas, moved to Houston when I was a kid, and then kind of shuffled westward to town of Katy, which is like right outside of Houston on I-10. So, and then from there, I've been real into theater, musical theater, singing, acting since I was in junior high.
Okay.
Did musicals in high school, did, shows and things like that. And then from there, it started my kind of theater costuming journey because I fell in love with it doing theater. And then kind of grew from there and kind of blossomed, if you will, from that. But I really kind of started doing singing and acting and things like that. I tried out for a tiny little show called American Idol when I was 21. Didn't get on.
Really? Can we go pull you up? What episode? My wife loved that show.
I'm on no episodes. I didn't even
I
didn't get through at all. They heard me and they were like, no.
I need you to sing now.
Yeah, you can sing. Well, I ain't gonna do all that right now.
I mean, I can if you want me to, but.
Oh man, that'd be the first guest to sing on Dope Men Soul. Oh man, Dope Men Sing and Soul. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
That's what's up. So you're from Katy, Texas, if I'm correct?
Yeah, Katy, Texas.
I mean, where you live in Katy, Texas.
Yeah, I live in Katy right now, which is just west of Houston. So
okay, there's a place there that's on your Instagram. It's called Traders Village.
Uh-huh.
And you got this plaid fabric, a bulk of plaid fabric.
Yeah.
It's about this thick now. And you got it for $20.
Yep. I don't know what it is.
Babe, we have to look this place up. He got a big bulk of fabric for like $20 and it was plaid. So I was like, oh my goodness.
And Traders Village is a giant, think of it as like a giant garage sale. And people bring in all of their things. People do have stores there and they sell like handmade things.
Okay.
But in the back area is where it's garage sale, it's knickknacks, some of it's antiques. And there was a lady there and I just saw a giant bolt of, tartan fabric. And I said, how much? And she said 20. And so I thought it was $20 a yard.
Oh, wow.
And so
okay.
I was maybe going to grab 6 yards, something to do something with.
Yeah.
And so I said per yard, and she said, no, the whole thing. And I was like, I'll be right back.
Oh my goodness.
So I ran to the ATM and grabbed it. But it is a huge, I don't even want to count how many yards are on it. But
yeah. And you still have it?
It's as big as, hold on.
Man, you have to see. I was like, oh my goodness, they're doing that at. Like, where they do that at? Yeah, I gotta find that place. Maybe I'll let Melanated Fabrics know about it. There we go. See, look, baby, you see this?
Oh my goodness.
And that's like one of my favorite plaids too.
$20?
$20.
Ask him
Yes.
if you can buy a couple yards.
Yeah, let me get some yards, bro.
Look at how much yardage.
Melanated Fabrics gonna buy it.
Wow. Yeah, I need a couple yards of that right there. That's amazing.
You know what I'll do though? If you want me to, just message me what your address is and I'll send you a swatch of it if you want to take a look at it and see what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably some poly taffeta, not taffeta, but it's probably some poly nonsense, but
Yeah. Got you.
But yeah, I'll send it.
It looks amazing though. It looks good. Yeah. I had to ask you about that, man, because I went crazy when I saw that. I was like, okay.
I find the most random deals sometimes at things like thrift stores, and I've bought fabric from the Goodwill before. This dress actually right here, this one here.
Yeah.
I made this for a play called On the Verge. It's actually made out of curtains and a duvet cover.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So I use a lot of my things. I use a lot of what people would call unconventional materials, but to me, fabric is fabric.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not going to use like ripstop nylon to make a pair of pants, but I don't necessarily follow what other people would suggest to make things out of.
I love that, man. I love that because that's what makes an individual, you know what I'm saying, an individual, you know what I'm saying, by using the things, you know what I'm saying, they want to use, and you have all kind of creative different ways of using it. So with that being said, man, like, like how did you start your soul journey, man? Tell us your soul story. Like when did you first started sewing?
So I've been sewing for 14 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
14, 15 years. I started when I was 17.
Uh-huh.
So it's longer than that because I'm 34. So I started when I was 17. So it's been longer than that.
Okay.
And the very first thing I made was my wife's prom dress. So I thought,
So how did you even get the idea that you could do this? That you can sew? Like did you see someone doing this when you was growing up or
my
you
my
came
mother
across
knows
a
how
blog?
to. My mom knows how to hand sew. Like she knows how to sew on a button. She knows how to repair a pair of pants.
Okay.
And fix things that don't require a machine. I've seen her do that before. She's
Okay.
handy with hand sewing. But that wasn't really where it came from. My wife actually got a machine from her aunt. And
Okay.
she wanted to learn how to sew and make her own like Halloween costumes and things like that. And so I just went to her and I was like, well, show me what you're doing, And she was
Okay.
like,
So
oh,
your
you
wife
just.
sews already. Your wife sews as well.
No, she didn't because she got to the machine and she was like, no, this is too much. I don't like.
Oh, okay.
And so and I was like, well, let me see, put two pieces of fabric together and just drive. And so I did it. And a week later I made a skirt,
Really?
and then it just kind of evolved from there. I'm completely self-taught. So I have no formal training of any kind. And
Wow.
so it's just evolved from there. And I drape on the form and I do that. I don't really sketch anything. I, sketch on my dress form with fabric
Yeah.
and I sculpt
Okay.
and, do things like that. And that's how I create my patterns. And that's really how I've learned,
Wow.
really.
So what type of resources have you reached out to, or resources have you found online, or books? Like what was there anything that you know what I'm saying? Like what type of menswear resources or women's wear resources did you find online?
So for women's wear, it was a lot of pattern books, historical pattern books that are out there currently that you can buy.
Okay.
There's a great series, if anybody's watching and is interested in historical fashion, there's a great series of books called Patterns of Fashion. And they're chronicles from like the 1500s all the way to the 1940s. And you buy
And
them and you buy them in a series. You have to grade them up because they're the
yeah.
originals and you have to
Uh-huh.
grade them. But I have nearly the whole collection in my bookshelf. But for things that I've made that were more modern, and especially
Uh-huh.
things like menswear, it was you.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it was you. It was Mimi. It was that kind of, because people have always asked me, well, you're a man. Why don't you do menswear?
Uh-huh.
And the short answer is because I don't want to.
Got you.
And
Yeah.
the long answer is I feel like I feel like I do well with what I know. And so some
Mm-hmm.
of it's a nervous energy of going past my comfort zone,
Got you.
and starting something new. But with the Henley, with the button-up shirt, it's finding a way to take the knowledge that I know about historical women's wear and women's wear in general and switch it to be women's wear. Because some of it is the same, button
Yeah.
plackets are the other direction. Sometimes the collars are a little different, things like that. The curve, obviously, of a man's shirt is way different than the curve of a women's shirt. And those are
Mm-hmm.
things that I've perfected as a women's wear designer and an evening gown designer. But it was a learning curve for me to do this Henley and the shirt. But
Yeah.
I mean, your videos, Mimi's videos, they're so hands-on and they're so easy to watch. And anybody that's watching right now, look up those videos, look up the Sewing Academy. It's so easy to follow for someone that knows how to sew anyway.
Right.
And you become this kind of cheerleader in the back of people's heads. And I would watch it and I would pause it and I'd go, okay, Norris, I'm going to go do this. And so I would sew and then I'd be, okay,
Yeah.
then you hit play again and then you go to the next step. And you became, like I said, you become this kind of like cheerleader for people while they're sewing. So for
That's
menswear,
awesome.
it was you guys.
That's so good to know. Also, the things that you're making with women's wear is not just some regular stuff now. Like you making some real technical bodices. You have princess seams, the type of fabrics, the corsets, the type of
Yep.
fabrics you work with, and I'm looking like this is like I'm like I'll probably be afraid to even attempt some of the things that you've already made, and you're making the pattern yourself, and like you're grading up patterns, like that's a lot of skill set. So when I saw you making a Henley, I'm like, oh, okay, he just brushed past that, because I wouldn't think a Henley shirt would be as complicated, nowhere near complicated in those dresses, but fashion is so, I mean sewing is just so funny, because you can have all this technical stuff, and if you're not used to certain things, even though it might be a little simpler, it does take rearrangement of the way you think about it to actually get it done. So I can see how, so you might have been a little hesitant on doing certain things, but your talent level is like, you have some real technical stuff that you've made, man.
Thank you. And it's funny because when I cut out this pattern, I was in the middle of like getting everything ready, ironing the tissue, getting everything laid out, and I got all of the pattern pieces laid out, and I looked and I was like, this has less pieces than like this dress does. You know, because there's so many little things. There's the collar stand, there's the collar facing, then you have the button plackets, and then you have you have the yoke, then you have the, burrito style where you roll it up to stitch the shoulder seams, to turn it inside out.
Yeah.
Those things just some of them aren't in historical women's wear. So those were new things that I had to learn when I made this. And again, I don't work with stretch fabrics. There is no stretch fabric in historical fashion.
Right.
So working with a two-way gray knit, it was a new experience, and it was great to learn how to do, because it was just, another one of those notches of, I can work with stretch fabric now, or I've made a Henley, I've made something modern for myself.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So how often do you make these pieces? Like, is it when like certain jobs come up with theater, or you might just get inspo from something else and just want to make one?
So for things like this, it was for a show. And I was actually in the show.
Can you bring it all the way into the frame? Because, oh, wow.
So, I mean, full train and everything.
Babe, you see this? Oh, my goodness.
So, and it was for a show where it was a show called On the Verge, and she was a female explorer, and part of the show, my wife was actually in the show, so I got to design things for my wife, which is great because I normally design everything for her anyway.
Okay.
if it's a costume, I normally design it for her, and a couple of modern pieces that I've made for her, evening gowns to go to a wedding and things like that I've made for her. But that particular dress was for a character who served tea, and the whole joke was she served tea in a ball gown with a tiara on. So she had to do that. And this is actually it's actually made to quick change too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was done in about a minute and a half. She was fully dressed.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Which was fun because I got to teach kids, teenagers, about quick change and about theater costume design. And I got to teach them kind of the ins and outs on why a theater costume is different than a historical costume and why it's different than modern fashion. So to give them this kind of level of what to expect maybe when you go into college, or when you go into, if you want to go into fashion, it's a lot different than what you expect. If you're expecting it to be the same, it's just not.
Right. Okay. So you say you grew up singing, and then you started with theater, and theater was when you really got the inspiration that you just loved the art that was on stage in theater, which was the clothes. Mm-hmm. And that was before you started sewing. So you just always had that eye for that particular type of fashion. So was that one of the first things that you thought of when you started sewing? You thought, oh, maybe I could make some of these things that I always had an eye for. Yeah,
I've always been interested in what people wear.
Okay.
And I've always had this kind of weird ability to look at something that somebody wears and I'm able to break it down, you know, either pattern piece by pattern piece, and I'm able to break that down, or I know exactly how, like, that shirt that you're wearing, I know exactly how you cut that out to get the stripes to line up and how you got the yoke to line up with that top stripe on your shirt. So I'm always kind of analyzing what people wear and why it's worn that way or why it's done this way. I've always done that with theater. And so now when I design costumes for theater, or when I design, you know, shirts or my shirt or something, I always think about how somebody's going to feel when they wear it or what response that's going to get from someone else.
Gotcha.
You know, I had a beautiful moment where I made an evening gown for a actress, and it was this beautiful gold. I made it out of curtain panels because budget was tight.
Yeah, got you.
And it was gold. It was beautiful gold brocade with this kind of like shawl that was made out of green and gold tulle. And I attached it right here at the princess and wrapped it around her body. And it became this beautiful shawl that trailed behind her.
Oh, wow.
And she stepped out and there was an audible gasp from the audience. And I was on stage with her because I was acting in the show too, which is a mistake I'll never make again. Designing and being in the same show.
Right.
I did it. I did it twice. And the first one was a mistake. And the second one I was like, okay, fine. But yeah, an audible gasp when she came out. And that's when I think that's when the realization hit me at how powerful what we make sends a visual message to somebody else. What we make, how that brings out that emotion in somebody else, how it makes them feel. And when you connect with somebody, and there was, again, this audible, like, oh, and even I had to take a second and not like react.
Freak out, yeah. Oh, you froze up a little bit.
And we got backstage and she was like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And I was like, yes, I heard it. Oh my God. You know? So, but yeah, I've always been interested in how things make people feel.
Got you. So when did you make your first your men's piece, a historical piece like that? Because I've seen you in a few of your little get-ups.
The first, let me think, probably the first piece of historical menswear that I made was a shirt for the shirt, or it's called a shift, for the gentleman who plays His Majesty the King at the Texas Renaissance Festival. Was probably the stuff that I made for him. That was probably my very first piece of historical menswear. And it's a white and black shirt. It's on my Instagram page. I really wanted to keep it because I thought it was really nice, but I got paid for it, so I had to give it away.
I mean, yeah, that's how that works.
Yep. And then that grew to make a summer suit for him. So I had to remake, take a suit that he already had that weighed about 45 pounds and make it lighter. Still have beading, still have all of this beautiful trim and decadence and all of this other stuff because it's the king, but still find a way to make it lightweight. So I did that for him. So that was probably my first piece of historical menswear that I've done.
Okay. So have you just recently started making more modern stuff for yourself?
Yes, these two were the first modern pieces that I've made ever.
Okay. What made you want to transition and be like, you know what, I want to make something currently right now that I can wear every day and for me? Was that something that, I don't know, you just wanted to challenge yourself, or you just want to do something therapeutic? Or
a lot of it was a curiosity of, can I even do it?
Okay.
Because I always want to push myself, and as makers, we're always learning and we're always trying to see what else we can learn, what else can we, accomplish in our craft. And so I have right on this side of me is a closet full of all of my stuff. It's all of my stuff, it's all of my wife's stuff, and it's all historical stuff, and it's beautiful things. And I've made some modern pieces for my wife, but I've never actually made anything for myself before.
Okay.
And so I think I've gotten to a point where I see other people make things, and really it was you. I see the things that you crank out, and that I want to buy that white and green and red polo from you so badly because it's a
Oh, I
really
love
good
that
polo. I love
Yeah.
that shirt. And the way to take things and style them differently for different outfits and different ways that you can style one piece of clothing, I thought, maybe it's time. Maybe
Okay.
it's finally time for me to kind of dip into those waters of
Yeah.
modern menswear pieces that I can incorporate into a wardrobe, that I can just throw on and leave and go to the house or go to the grocery store and come back. And it's not a historical piece, and it's not a silk waistcoat,
Yeah.
that I can hang my pocket watch on and things like that. So
Yeah.
it was that kind of curiosity that could I even do
Okay.
it? And then when I did it, I was like, okay, what's the next piece? What's the next thing that I can make? So
Yeah.
it started this kind of snowball from there.
Okay, well, great, man. Well, I can't wait to see you make more pieces like that. And if you need any recommendations on any patterns, 9 times out of 10, I've probably seen it or I've tried it. So just let me know. I'll give you some recommendations.
Yeah.
So now, we done talked about all your pieces and you making all those different things. What type of sewing machine and what type of I guess like tools and stuff do you use? Like you use scissors over versus rotary cutters. You use
A rotary cutter is going to take my finger off because I had an unfortunate incident with a mandolin slicer, and so I'll probably never use a rotary cutter just because I'm scared.
so you scissors?
Yeah, I use scissors. I have
Yeah, me too. I
multiple
use scissors
pairs.
too.
I'm looking at it right now. It's just right off the frame on the other side of my wall. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pairs of scissors.
Wow.
And they all have a different thing. Don't you dare cut my fabric with my paper scissors.
Exactly. Yeah. So what kind of sewing machine you work on?
I have a Husqvarna Viking machine.
Can we see that?
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I can kind of take you around my studio.
All right.
Unless I lose you. Unless I lose you. So yeah, big closet back there. This is all of my stuff. So this is actually my garage too, by the way.
Okay.
I renovated the garage and I took it over.
Oh, this is nice.
So I have, that's the Husqvarna. So that's my main machine. That's the one machine that I usually sew everything on. That's it.
That's where the magic happens.
Yep, this is where it happens. And then I have a black serger and a white serger.
Okay.
Because I'm not about to thread one serger with multiple colors.
Yeah.
So I just use whatever color is closest. If it's a light color shirt, then it's white. If it's a dark color shirt, it's black, and that's it. It's the only choice that you have.
This is one of those two.
when it comes to serging.
Yeah.
And then that's it for machines. There's where I keep all my other bolts of fabric, my bigger bolts of fabric.
Okay. Did you find all those at the village spot too?
No, what I do is I usually go to I usually take a pilgrimage up to Dallas in February or January, and I hit up the fabric district in Dallas. Dallas has an amazing fabric district that has been, unfortunately, it was ravaged by a tornado about 2 years ago. And we lost a lot of the fabric stores in Dallas. But now they've kind of rebuilt, and there's I think maybe 3 or 4 stores that are along one road, and you can just walk to each one of them. And I've started kind of doing that every year, every January. Me, my sister-in-law, who also sews beautifully, and we will kind of go to Dallas and just see what's out there, see what things I can be inspired by and see what things I can make.
That's kind of similar to downtown LA, right? We have like we had a 13 mile radius, 13 block radius of just fabric. So so how big is the one in Dallas? I didn't even know Dallas had it like that.
The one in Dallas, like I said, the one in Dallas is small. The one before the tornado hit, it used to be on, one whole street. You would just see fabric and fabric and fabric, and then you would just keep driving. but then there's another kind of smaller fabric district north of Dallas, just a little north of downtown Dallas. And there's another one that I have not gone to, and my friends who live in Dallas told me about it. So now next year I have to go to that one. But I mean, there are, we have the Joannes, we have, the Michaels where you can get pre-cuts done,
Yeah.
but there's really nothing to beat an actual fabric store where there's just rolls on rolls on rolls on rolls, stacked to the ceiling. There's nothing to beat that. I mean, and we have high fashion. High Fashion Fabrics is downtown Houston, and I go there all the time.
Okay.
And there's another place, that's off of Westheimer in Houston called Fabric Decor, that I go for a lot of my historical stuff because they have good home deck, good weights on fabric. But yeah, I have standard. I go here for this, and I go here for this, and I go here for notions, and I go here for other things.
Okay. Well, so when we I guess I had a few questions I had sent over to you, and one thing I had asked was about if you had like a blog or anything like that, and it's kind of rare to find any like menswear makers that have blogs. That's kind of why I asked that question. But you did mention that you was looking to start a YouTube channel. So with
Yeah.
this YouTube, tell me like what type of things are we to suspect?
So every time I'll post, something, or I'll post this, or I'll post something that I've made, somebody's like, I don't know how you make this. My very dear friend of mine, Kari, says that it's just witchcraft. She was like, you take this flat piece of fabric and you turn it into this. She was like, I don't get it. She was like, I don't get it. It's witchcraft. It's blah, blah, blah. And so I've always thought about chronicling that process, going through step by step, just randomly, just talking to people. And I know that there are people out there that already do this. You do this. Other people do it. Costuming Drama is another one that I follow. Other historical costumers have tons of YouTube pages. So it's nothing new, but I haven't seen a lot of men that do historical costumes on YouTube.
Gotcha.
And especially not a lot of men that don't do historical menswear, because I usually focus on historical women's wear. I have fabric. This fabric right there is for a frock coat that I'm desperately going to make. It's a purple, like fine corduroy. Oh, so pretty.
Okay.
And so I'm really hoping to get a frock coat made out of that. So definitely will be challenging myself with that one, because there's just a lot more tailoring that's involved in menswear, and especially a men's coat.
Absolutely. So are you looking to do like tutorials too, or you just like do reviews?
There are a ton of tutorials out there. And like I said, I'm self-taught, so nobody needs to take what I do as, the gospel on how to sew anything. But I kind of want to do it to show that there's not so much more, because what I do is nothing new. The things that I do are nothing new. The gowns that I make are nothing new. But I think seeing some sort of a familiar face behind it and feeling a sort of, a relationship or camaraderie with someone who sews the same things that you do is what's important. And I think as makers, we find, our niche, and we find our way that we do things, and finding somebody that will watch that, or find somebody that will interact with you when you do that. That's what we crave. That's what we want, is for somebody to take what we have and go, oh, I watched your video, and now I finally figured out that button placket, or I finally figured out, how to do that binding on that corset because I watched your video, So we have, we've built this community, and it's now time to not give back, but at the same time, yeah, it's time to give back and really share the wealth that we have, which is why I'm one of the first to go to schools or go to other people that are starting their sewing or their costume journey, and go, hey, here's the things that you really need, or here's the things that I've learned that if I would have known it earlier, one, I wouldn't have spent, a lot of money doing. And
Right. Missed a
two,
lot of fabric.
it would have made the process so much easier had I had known to, not use, iron-on interfacing and use hair canvas instead.
Yeah.
How to learn how to pad stitch instead of trying to do it on my machine with a zigzag stitch.
Yeah.
I would have known those things earlier. So I'm all about giving back. And so I think that's why I want to start my channel, to add a little bit of humor behind it, add a little bit of kind of corniness, nerdiness, but
Well,
also...
Frank, as soon as you launch, I'm gonna be subscribing because I want to see what you're doing over there. How you doing it, what you doing, what you're working on, because I find it super interesting, because I do mostly modern menswear, and there's really no need for me to do women's wear because wifey is the queen of women's wear, and that's what she do.
She is the literal queen of
Yeah.
women's wear. And when I tell you that, because me and my wife were trying to find a pattern for something.
Yeah.
And you came, I'm going to talk to Mimi like she's right on the screen. But Mimi
she
came out with...
I'm here.
Here she go.
Oh, okay. Hola, Mimi.
Hola.
So she came out with this beautiful two-tone wrap style maxi dress years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that dress and my wife was like, that is what women want to wear. Women don't want to wear the same shapeless A-line princess dress that's in every sewing machine, that's in every sewing catalog.
Yeah.
And then the most recent things that Mimi came out with, it was I don't know what color it was, but it was another knit dress. Not another knit dress like it's bad, but yes, that orange one.
Yeah.
God, that dress is
it was popping
beautiful.
up. Yes.
And so having things that women are like, yes, that is what women want to wear. That is what women want to look like, instead of this kind of cookie cutter, here's this princess bodice with this sheer lace overlay and the A-line skirt. Mix and match,
Yeah.
Women want versatility in their gowns, and they especially want versatility in their patterns. And Mimi is literally the queen of that. And so when I saw that dress, I was like, this woman is changing the game in women's wear.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate all the love, all the kind words, man.
It's true. Yeah. It's the truth. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't the truth. And the same thing with you and with menswear. You came out with the Henley about 3 years ago, and I was like, I have to make this shirt one way or another. I have to have this shirt. And then you came out with the button up with the French cuffs and the white collar, and then the pleated pants, which I haven't attempted because I'm not a huge fan of pleated pants. So I'll figure out a way to draft that pleat out.
Yeah, just take it out. It out.
And I was like, this is an accurate representation of what people look like that sew for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's, not, I mean, you guys are beautiful, but it's not just this model that they chose from an agency to go, here, put this on.
Right.
You guys make it. You guys stand behind the things that you make. And that is what I think that's really one of the most inspiring things about the people and the lives that you two touch, is that you guys stand behind everything that you make. And it makes us as makers, and especially the men that you interview, it really gives us like the drive to keep going and to keep kind of pushing ourselves to make the next thing, because you guys are doing that 24/7, all the time.
Yeah. That's so dope, man. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna go ahead and open up for questions.
Yeah.
And for those that are listening, we have a comment section down at the bottom right corner with a question mark. You can touch that and put your little question in. We can pull them up. Currently, there's no one in there right now. But I know some people had a few questions up top. And also, I was telling Frank earlier, I was like, I might bring somebody on because Instagram has the new feature where you can put multiple people in here. So I want to try to get one person. If y'all want to request to be on the show, you request it. We can open it up and you can talk to Frank directly. You can talk to me directly with any questions that you might have. So we'll probably do that before we get off, and just try to test it out, see how it go.
Instagram
Okay,
is
we have our
slowly
first
turning into
question.
Zoom.
Wifey, wifey want to know if you speak Spanish fluently.
No, I can understand Spanish, but I am not fluent.
Okay, how much you
Yeah, my
understand?
my dad never taught us. My dad is of Mexican descent, and my dad never taught us Spanish. My mother is German, um, and so my dad never really taught us. And I'm learning, more and more as I go along. But yeah, we were never taught Spanish growing up as kids, which I look back and I'm like, dang it, I should have,
Yeah.
I should have, because it would have been better. But yeah.
Well, at least you
So
can
yes
understand.
and no.
Yes and no. So our next question is from the Corny Rainbow. What up? What up? What do you absolutely hate making? That was a good one. What you hate making? Everybody know what they
That
hate
is
making.
a great one. Honestly, probably corsetry.
Corsetry.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Yeah. So for those
Also,
that don't know what that is, can you like elaborate a little bit more?
yeah. So also I love the name The Corny Rainbow. I love that name. So a corset is a structural garment that women would wear underneath their gowns. And a corset has evolved from what's known as a pair of stays in the 1700s to a corset in the 1800s to a girdle in the 50s, it grows from there. But it's always some sort of a
What is it now?
supportive,
What is it called now? What is it now? Spanx or something?
right?
Is that the same thing? That is the same thing? Oh, okay. My
No,
bad.
Spanx are not
Oh,
a
okay. My
corset.
bad. My bad. I
Um,
don't know what I'm talking about.
but now things, and a designer who's kind of the master at doing structured things is Zach Posen, who builds this kind of corset inside the gown that gets laced up, and then the dress zips over it. But yeah, those are insanely structured garments that have to withstand, holding someone in for a long period of time. And the gown that I made, this
Yeah.
doesn't have a corset underneath it right now, but she was corseted underneath the dress. My wife wears a corset underneath all of her gowns that I've done for her. Full, Victorian underwear, from the inside out. We build the dresses,
Wow.
from those layers. We build it, and at one time, my wife will have 9 layers of clothes on.
Oh my
God.
goodness. From clay?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you also said the plays were it had like easy access for change. So you, on top of making them, you have to design them a different way so they can put
Yeah.
them on
So
faster.
with this one, the back of this dress, it laces up in the back. So it's a lace up dress.
Uh-huh.
It's a lace up, but the strings on this are long that you can unlace it and still leave it laced. And so
Okay.
all she had to do was step into the skirt pulled on, it locked, she pulled this over her head, and we pulled the strings, and it was done.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and it was done what they call fireman style, where everything's pulled on the floor, and all the actress does is just step into it, and it pulls right up, hooks, pulls down, ties, tiara on, she's out. And that is an art, is to get something quick changed on an actress that does have to have a wig on. There was a wig change. There was a tiara change. She had a whole tea set. So she had the whole tea tray full of things. And then she had on her other costume that we had to get her out of.
Oh
So
my
her
goodness.
skirt had to be quick rigged also so that she could unzip it in the front, unsnap her blouse, and then pull everything on. So
Oh wow.
it's when you see them on TV and when you see them in like Broadway
On
shows like
stage.
Cinderella, Cinderella with the ball gown, the peasant dress, and transformation and things like that. It's really an art.
Oh wow, that's amazing, man. Someone asked, have you ever made crinoline? What is
A
that?
crinoline.
Crinoline? What is
Mhm.
that?
Crinoline has many different names. Crinoline is actually a fabric, more like what people would say is net, like petticoat netting and under like 50s dresses. But in the Victorian time, a crinoline was a hoop skirt, basically.
That question came from Adam, by the way. I had to let
Say
him know.
what?
That question came from Adam. I had to let him know that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. To Adam's answer, yes, I have. In different kind of shapes and different things. They're actually really relatively easy to make. Basically, you take an A-line skirt pattern and add, tapes on the inside, and that's where you insert the hoops and throw a drawstring in it, and you're done.
Boom, just like that.
Yeah, it's not just like that, but it's just like that.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, I have a question for you. So during your first couple of projects with menswear, what's one I guess technique that you had to redo or rethink of how to do it for menswear versus what you've done already with your timepiece pieces?
So kind of what's the thing I had to like retrain myself on?
Yeah, if it wasn't something new, if it wasn't a new technique, like what's something you had to do in a different way when it came to menswear?
Oh,
Well, the modern
buttons.
menswear.
Buttons.
Buttons. Oh.
The buttons on a woman's bodice are on the opposite side of a men's shirt.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I had to retrain my eye, and I actually had to go back to an actual button-up shirt that I bought, and I grabbed it and I brought it in my studio, and I was like, "Where do the buttons go on this damn shirt?" Because on a women's bodice, I know exactly where the buttons go, and I know exactly how many buttonholes are on there, and and it's done.
Gotcha.
But on this, I had to, especially on this one, I actually had to take that tissue buttonhole guide that you have and like lay it out because I wanted to make sure that I didn't put the buttons on the wrong side of the shirt.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's there for. Let me see. Have any more questions before we get off? Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna give people a little bit more time to get their questions in. But I would ask you what's next. I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit of that when it comes to the YouTube stuff. I know you want to do more content like that, but like what else next for you after this? Like, are you doing more designs, or are you more into theater, or like what's some of your stuff you have coming up?
Yeah, well, right now theater has been kind of put on a standstill because of everything that's going on. And so there's not a lot of shows that are happening right now. So a lot of it is me kind of exploring different avenues and exploring my craft. And sometimes I'll just come in here and just sit in my studio, look at the wall and be like, what's speaking to me? What fabric is talking to me about what to make that day. I had a post on my Instagram where it talked about, future. What's the future look like for you? And I posted this fabric wall and I was like, this is my future. I don't know what it holds, but whatever they want me to make with them, that's what I'll do. And that's what I'll make. So sometimes I just sit in here. I have a TV and I'll, turn on YouTube or I'll turn on Pandora just to have some white noise. But yeah, sometimes it's really just sitting in here and reflecting about what to make, what's the next thing, what technique can I brush up on, what thing can I do to, keep making sure that what I know is correct. Because I would do something one way for years and then I'd watch somebody else do it and I'm like, oh, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. So,
Yeah.
then I'd have to, retrain myself and, continue draping on the form and continue drafting and figuring out, where does that seam really lie and how can I manipulate this dart to get me a cowl neck or get me, a flat waist with a dart, with a fisheye dart in, wherever.
Gotcha.
And so it's really kind of honing in on my craft and really kind of sitting and learning about other things and even watching, you guys or other people on YouTube and how you guys work and what's your process and seeing ways that I can streamline my own process as well. So
Yeah.
sometimes
Okay.
it's sitting in reflection, really.
Yeah. So, Faith has a question. I cannot miss Faith's question because
I
last
love
time
Faith.
I missed Faith's question, she came for me. Anytime she had a question, I gotta ask it. So, one of the questions is inserting boning. Inserting boning in these bodies are crazy. Do you use other techniques to give these dresses structure?
So in a modern dress, I will usually flatline with an organza, because even though it's a thin, using an organza still has body to it, so it still gives your dress some sort of structure. And then I will insert the boning channels and do all of that, and then line the dress afterwards. But I usually put a little bit more boning than what is called for, because again, this goes back to earlier when you see things on somebody and you're like, that just doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
And so I know where to put an extra piece of boning here, or sometimes you can put a diagonal piece of boning towards the back to give more structure and to make the back lay a little bit flatter.
Okay.
Even though you may have boning against the zipper, or you may have boning on, your side back seams, putting a diagonal piece of boning flattens out that area in the upper back of a gown, and it just makes it lie a little better. And those are things you don't really realize. They don't teach people that, and so sometimes you have to do that trial and error, or sometimes it'll be in a dress and you'll see it and you'll go, oh, and then you
Gotcha.
put it in something else.
Okay. All right. Well, I have another question. What's your favorite Victorian decade to make in?
Right now it is the 1890s,
1890s?
which is the 1890s, which for menswear, menswear really hasn't changed. A man's suit has not changed in about 130 years. Men
Wow.
have, in the 1900s, men would have what's called a sack suit. So it's a kind of more boxy fit
Okay.
to a suit, and it's normally a three-piece suit. And then it just kind of changes, ever so slightly. It's a little more fitted. There's a different vent, be Italian or American. There's different
Bigger
ways.
lapel.
Yeah, different lapels, different things like that. A men's sack suit buttons, up to here, and it actually comes down, it kind of cuts away from the body to show off the waistcoat. That's what it's for.
Okay.
But really, menswear hasn't changed since the 1900s. But when you look at women's wear from the 1800s to the 1900s to the 1950s, the 1960s, the 80s, they followed fashion so differently than menswear had. And not that menswear is boring,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
to kind of ride that journey of women's wear has been really cool for me. And sometimes it changes.
That's awesome.
Sometimes I don't like making women's wear, and sometimes it's my greatest joy that I've
Yeah.
ever done. So it changes day by day.
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna end with one more question. Now, this is from the Corner Rainbow, and I think wife mentioned it as soon as we started. She asking, "Can you sing for us?"
Can I? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. If I have to, I have to. Is this like singing for
I mean, you don't
myself, or
have
is this-
to. I mean, it's just a
No
question,
pressure,
yes
no
or no.
No. I can. I will. Okay. Oh, now I'm all nervous. Okay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And this house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away. That's it. That's all you get.
Yo!
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up. You didn't know you was gonna sing on here tonight. What? We turning all the way up on Dope Men Soul. Oh my goodness, that's what's up, man. Well,
That's
Mike.
one of my favorite songs.
Oh, good.
Well, Frank, I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sharing all of the gems that you dropped today. A little inside view of what your world looks like, and also what's to come. Is there anything you want to close with? Anything you have coming up? Any dates or anything currently? Some of your pieces are in. Anything you want to leave us with?
No, nothing really currently that I'm making. But I think kind of the one thing that I want to stress about, and this really goes out to anybody that wants to make, that wants to create, it's literally just as easy as just do it. Just do it. Just start. Whatever your skill level is, even if you've never picked up a needle and thread, just try. Just do it. There's plenty of tutorials that are out there. There's plenty of resources that are out there to you. And if there's, anything that there's hesitation, there's a perceived kind of way of how you might be perceived if you start to sew. I know, I think it was Jay Scruggs who brought it up about the perception of men who sew.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately, I've been at the receiving end of those kind of unfortunate words. And,
Right.
those things don't bother me because, people have their opinion and that's their opinion. And I'm not going to change it, even though it's hateful and wrong. But I think it's just to do it anyway, even though you're scared, even though it's challenging, even though you're going to fail, even though you've, sewn through your finger, which I've done before.
Ooh.
Do it anyway. Do it
Don't
anyway.
do that.
No, don't do that. Don't
sew
sew through your finger.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, even if even if you're sitting and whatever you're making is in a pile and you're in tears, put it away, go to sleep, come back tomorrow. It will literally be a different garment. Yeah. It'll look different. It'll feel different. You'll have a different kind of mindset to that.
Your bad energy will be gone. Start fresh.
The bad energy. Or take a second like I just did and sing randomly.
Yeah.
Do something else that doesn't occupy your mind to think about that dress or to think about that shirt. Do something completely separate. Go play a video game. Go binge watch a show. Go eat. Go read a book. Go do something. But it's just doing that and trusting your art.
Yeah.
Trusting your gut, trusting your art, knowing that there is always someone, yes, there is always someone that is better than you, but there is always someone that's starting out that needs that encouragement from you to say, yes, it's okay.
Absolutely.
We've all started out. We all made a terrible dress or a terrible shirt when we first started out. But if you judge someone else, if you judge yourself, if you measure yourself by somebody else's ruler, you're always going to be short.
Yeah.
You're always going to be off. And the moment you take charge and the moment you decide, I am myself, I am a maker, and what I make is what I make.
Yeah. Boom. There it is.
The world opens for you. And there's plenty of seats at the table for us. As makers, there's plenty of seats at the table.
Yeah.
And it's also up to us to allow the seats at the table, you know, which, and as we close, I'm outstandingly grateful and thankful for you taking the time to talk to me and taking the time to, you know, learn about me as a man who doesn't do menswear, who does women's wear, but who still sews. I am a man who sews. I'm just not necessarily a man who does menswear, but I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm expanding.
You're wearing your piece right now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's an amazing journey that you go on if you trust the journey.
Okay. For those that are out there new to sewing or beginners, whatever, those are some really good words of encouragement and also inspiration. I thank all of you all that are on tonight on a Thursday night checking in, and I appreciate you once again, Frank, for joining us on the show. And I guess we will see y'all in the next one. All right. Holla holla. Have a good one,
guys.
brother.
Bye.
Bye.